Blimmin' hell. I'm back with the Ever Given. Apologies, I said I wasn't going to look at it again, but some other stuff came up with it. This was something I forgot to mention at the time. I did talk about this image in the other video, but I forgot to mention that this looks a lot like a Virgin Mary figure. It looks like a feminine figure, a pregnant feminine figure. Okay? And again, I think I probably did mention this in the video, but this is, this canal here, the idea of the canal, the birthing canal. This canal is the shortcut. It's the man-made shortcut. Instead of taking the natural path around the bottom of Africa, these boats now can take a shortcut through here. And this is what entering the system is all about. It's all about convenience, trying to make your life easier, trying to gain an advantage over other people in the world. This thing, this is, again, this is what the fiction is. This is what all these ideas that we have, what we, the matrix system that we created. This is, again, represents it very well. This is like, the canal, roads, railroad tracks, these fundamental things to make transport of goods, to make trade easier. These things are going to be referenced a lot when we see them, these metaphors popping into our vision. Roads are going to be mentioned a lot, and I'm going to get onto the road here in a minute. Canals are going to be these certain waterways are going to be mentioned a lot. And as I go on through this, of course I'll talk probably about the Hoover Dam at some point in this. That's another convenience thing. Not having to put up with annual floods of nature and the unpredictability of nature. We dam the river and we control it. It's all about controlling nature, and this is what this thing does. In a way, it's controlling nature. It's controlling the fact that we don't have to be subject to nature. So, and that's really what the system's all about, is removing nature from the reality, because that's where the perceived problems are, when in actual fact those perceived problems are actually, they're not really a problem. There's something that has to be balanced within our own lives, rather than trying to completely get rid of that whole thing. That's the whole idea of being in balance. That's working with something, synchronizing with it. I don't know. Anyway, well, I'm already waffling. Sorry, but why I wanted to talk about this again, and you just can't write this stuff, is because after I did that video on the Ever Given, this thing comes up, right? And this is a guy, I don't know, he's talking about the chart tracker thing, the course tracker plotter thing that tracks the location of the ship, the Ever Given, in the Gulf of Suez, right? Before it's ready to enter the canal, before it's ready to enter the birthing canal, the vagina, this thing, that the place where it's going to seek the place where we seek protection, the place where we seek, all of our desires. This thing is floating around, and it's managed to doodle a penis and two balls. We've got the male genitalia here. And before we get too bent out of shape about this, yes, this is, you could argue this is talking about impregnated, but that is really what we're talking about. We're talking about, when I say impregnating the matrix, that's what we are doing again, metaphorically speaking, this is what we're doing with our consciousness. We're lending it into that thing. That's what we're doing. We're giving life to that thing. We're sowing a seed in that thing that we have generated with our seed is the matrix, the control system. Anyway, this is what we're talking about here. This thing here, let's not get too bent out of shape with you'll hear a lot of people talking, this idea here is like the male domination of the reality, and this is, you if you've looked into 9/11 in the past, that's brought up a lot, with the Masons, this all male type secret society that's, this is why this thing's coming up, and it may be one of the reasons why this thing pops up, excuse the pun, but that's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing here is a symbol that represents mankind as a whole. Right, this is the man here, being born out of the fiction here. And if you oh boy, we have to sort of go into what an atom is and what matter is and how matter is formed, how the physical is formed. Well, the current science theory is, in my opinion, it's not right, and there's a few other people that will tell you it's not right. A good channel to go to actually on this is Ken Wheeler, and what's his channel? It's Theoria Apophasis, and it's spelt, I'll put a link in it hopefully in the description, and you can go to that channel, and he'll explain to you he'll explain to you basically what an atom is. You have to watch a few of the videos to get the gist of it, but this is a torus field, right? We're talking magnetism here. I don't really want to get into explaining it, but that's what we're dealing with. This torus field, this is why the 8 is, again, an infinity sign. We're dealing with this torus field. This is matter itself right here, and this is the man springing forth from there. And this is why the Leviathan Cross is so important. We'll get into that here in a minute as well. But the number we've got here, let's just talk about the number. We've got the 8-1. 2 ball cane, 007. We've got the 8-1. And this thing's about to enter the the fictional system, the matrix, the canal, and it's going to get stuck there. It's going to get lodged there. It's going to run aground there, and that's going to be stuck in there. Again, we're talking about this. This is the problem we have. We enter into that system, and we get stuck in it. We're stuck in that system. And again, so now, we've got to start to dredge the canal and get the ship moving again and get it back out of there. Again, it's it's the same, all the same ideas again. Anyway, so let's bear in mind that Leviathan Cross again and the 81 right here entering into the 2 banks of the canal. That's what the canal is, that's the representation of the canal right there. If you just draw the double parallel line, well, that's the canal, isn't it? Very simple symbolism, or I don't know what you call it, simple ideas. And that number's right there again. This number that I keep going on about because it's in this bloody chart that I drew, and it represents balance of this realm. The 11, 18. The legs, the 2 legs again with the 9/11, the 2 bloody legs. This is why I keep hearing all this legend stuff all the time. This is why the goat is the legend, the greatest of all time. The legend. And at the end of the leg end, at the end of the two legs is this thing. The two lips. The canal into which we're not really placed there at birth, but we're put into that illusion. We're put under that trance of being in that thing. This is the fictional system. This is the thing we have to balance with. This is the thing we have to become aware of and know how to operate with. This is what Neo does in the Matrix. He figures out that he is basically immune to the Matrix. This is why at the end of the Matrix, he just stops the bullets. He doesn't even have to absorb. He can absorb them, stop them, dodge them, do what he wants. But this is the realization he comes to, that the Matrix has no power over him. Right. Oh, bloody hell, Dan. You're all over the place with this video. But anyway, briefly on this chart, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're new, and you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have to go back and look at an old video. But what we're dealing with here is two crosses, and one leg of the cross represents, again, we've got another double leg, but we've got one cross here that represents the balance point for the metaphysical, all the ideas we have, the spiritual side of our reality or our being. Okay, and then we have the physical side of our being, being within nature, being the physical body as well. And so we have two numbers that pop up right here, 11, 18, and so those are the two numbers we want to be looking at if we want to look at metaphors that will reflect balance. Right? If we're looking at certain events that happen, there will be probably an underlying theme of these two numbers. Alright, oh blimmin' hell. So bearing in mind with the 811, and I may just call this video the answers staring you right in the face, because we have to go back to, hang on a minute, before I shouldn't have jumped onto this straight away, because let me just remind you of this bloody thing here, right? The Leviathan Cross. This is one symbol for sulfur as well, and this is this 811 again, and it's the 81 as well, coming up here, the 8 and the 1. And I mean, if you just look at this, I don't know if you can imagine it. I mean, it would be better if I could draw this out. Okay, here's the male genitalia again. This is humankind, mankind going through. If you could just imagine, this thing's penetrating through this double line here, through the 11. So you've got the 81 or the 18 coming through those two columns, the two pillars of the reality. And so I think 9/11 is obviously it's the same symbolism. It's exactly the same. I go on about the Hoover Dam, maybe something with the Golden Gate Bridge. There's the other guy, Jurassic Liars, goes on about the Space Needle, but it's all the same kind of symbolism at the end of the day. I know it doesn't maybe look exactly the same, but there's definitely an underlying similarity between all this stuff. Oh, blimmin' hell. So anyway, and again with Leviathan, we're back to Levi, Elvis, Eve, the levee, elevating, what's that Dua Lipa song? I mean, that's absolutely loaded, that latest Dua Lipa song. I can't remember what it's called. Levitating is what it's called. Levitating. Raising. to do with raising taxes as well. Anyway, I mean, it's all the same stuff. So, one other interesting thing before I forget: living and levitating and living. Do you see how that's very similar, phonetically speaking? Again, this idea of just living is, at its fundamental core, is being within, the mother nature. Right now, the atoms that we're built from, and this being an atom here, an 8T again, an atom with the 8T again. This thing that we are springing forth from, again, it's the mother again. The problem that we've got right now is we are in the false mother. We're in a man-made illusion right now, rather than the God-created atomic illusion, I guess. Or is it an illusion? I don't know, but the physical is the mother. What do I want to say about the physical here? Look here, again, go and look at Ken Wheeler's channel, Theoria Apophasis, and this donut is an atom, right? That's what an atom is right there. I know we've been given the planetary model, but the planetary model is just not quite right, not when you look at how things happen in nature. When you pull that plug out of the bathtub, that whirlpool there it's telling you how an atom works. That hyperboloid shape is telling you how nature works. The same with a tornado. Why is Dorothy getting blown away by the tornado? I don't know. Anyway, I'm just really losing track of what I'm doing here, but because I got a lot more to get through on this. So this symbol here. Let's go to my little pictures now, my little doodles, because it's right in the front of you. It's right in your face. The two eyes, the 8, the nose, the 1. So you got the 1881 there, and then here's the 11, your lips. And of course, this is the very same thing here that is entering the feminine side of reality, the feminine equal sign. Eve again with equals. We were talking about even and Evan Almighty, that film. I mean, even, it's an equal sign again. This is, we're talking about Eve. Are we talking about balance again? Oh geez, it's absolutely loaded, isn't it? But again, here's the male entering into the Vesica Pisces right here, into the canal, the road, the railroad tracks, all the same idea in terms of symbolism. Man-made pathway. And I just sorry about these pictures. I really need a stylus to do this, but whatever. But here's the little stick figure guy coming out. This is what I'm talking about. This is where you're springing from. This thing down here, let's just draw it, is another cross. Yeah, where those two sides of the 8 cross, here, and there's your 8. Oh my goodness. There's your 8, very roughly drawn. There's the cross in the center, and this is the place where you're coming out of. This is the guy coming out of there, and that head on the guy, That's, again, this is where all the fictional ideas come. That thing's got to be balanced as well. So you put a line through there. That's the cross through the head. That's the smaller cross is balance of, your mental fictional ideas, the metaphysical again, your spirit. So this is what we're coming from, this cross here. And what's interesting is this could lead me right on to. I mean, I can go around in circles on this all day long, but this leads me on to, and eventually we'll get back to another thing that's just happened in the reality. But where I want to go to, this thing here. Here's the first cross, the main cross, the cross of, the Jesus cross of Christ, and we've got the blue fictional cross underneath. That'd be the flag of St Andrew, which is Scotland, again the Great Scott. We've got George here, which is mentioned a ton in everything, especially George Washington. But you got George Bush, and now I'm going to get stuck for Georges, but and the new prince as well. I think he's George, isn't he? William's son. Because we're going to get onto the William's son and the Wilson and all this stuff, but we're going to get onto Prince Philip here in a minute. William's grandfather. Now, and also, again, we're back to the bloody royal family, and I suppose we'll be talking about Diana and Charles here in a minute. I don't know. And what else we got in here? We got Patrick as well. Patrick in here as well. The guy that drives the snakes out of Ireland. Yeah. Drives the snakes from the eye of your mind. I don't know. You could just turn these ideas around and make little play on word type things. Anyway, again, and it's the Union Jack, and what we Blackjack, the Jack, Jack in the Box, Jack the Lad, Fliminel. I don't know. We're back to 21, another 21 reference. Oh dear. Okay. And again, this is what you've got to get to: the union of Jack with the fiction. What do I want to talk about next? There was a reason why I was looking at the Union Jack, because it just happened to pop up when I was looking at the Union Shield. And oh, you know what? We'll get onto this in a minute. Just bear this image in mind here, and we're going to get onto Prince Philip now. This is really what I was going to do the thing about, because Prince Philip dies at the age of 99. Well, flip this around, and we've got the 99. This is the 66. Philip 66. A very, very well, at least in our neck of the woods, you'll see this. I don't know what else to say about it really, but this thing springs to mind. This thing, Route 66, and again we've got the shield, and the shield represents the protection that the system offers you. It's also the shape of the womb. Right here, it's actually the shape of the female torso, if you look at it, or it's the shape of the armor that covers the torso. But what I want to talk about with this 66 and discuss imbalance, because this 66 reminds me, well, it doesn't remind me, it brings this thing to mind here. Order 66 in Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars buff by any means, but this is I believe the beginning of the Clone Wars, And so bear that idea in mind, the clone wars. Because right now, the way you're controlled is via a clone of you. It's just a paper clone. It's just, a piece of paper where they've written down some a description of you, if you like, and that's your clone. It's the birth certificate. It's all those things that the system gives you: the birth certificate, the the passport, the driving license, all those things. In fact, though, but it always boils back down to the birth certificate, because you never get an original copy of that birth certificate. They always retain possession of that birth certificate, and that's what gives them jurisdiction over that idea, that clone of you that is on the birth certificate. It's really got nothing to do with us, with us individually, the birth certificate, but we enter into that illusion. But anyway, so we've got this idea of the Clone Wars starting. Well, let's just look at this symbol again. The 66. And again, before I just get off of it again, and the shield is the dam. Look at the shape of, this is an old-fashioned shield here, but when we look at the newer shape on that penny, you can clearly tell it's definitely the shape of the dam, and this is definitely the shape of the crown, the crowning of the king from the dam. And it's interesting that all these both as well have the the separation of the crown and the bottom half of the dam, which would be the dam. But anyway, back to the 66 and the clone. This is really should be 3 or 4 videos, but I'm sorry, I don't have time to break all these videos down and do separate videos. So this 6 is man. If we go back to my chart, oh man, I don't know if it's worth popping back to these things, but there's my chart. You can see the physical there is 6. 6 is the number of man, and it's it's in this chart as well. This is the number of man, and so if we were trying to balance correctly with with the fiction, we would see a 96 or a 69. Whereas what we've got here is a 66. We've got a duplicate 6 here. Okay, this is not really balanced in terms, it's the same number, but it's a, if you like, it's just a copy of this 6, and this is what we're dealing with. Again, a copy of this 6, a copy of man. This is your birth certificate, this is the real physical man, and this is the thing that we're being controlled by. We are in this, look at where we're in here. We're in the dam here. And again, the top part of this is the crown. Again, the crown is the crown of thorns. When the moon covers the sun, that is what is left, the corona. The corona, the crown. This is the control system that we're in. What we need to do is take that crown. I don't know. Do you want to remove it? Do you want to own that crown? You can look at it a million different ways. But that thing, we've got to and this is the metaphor that pops up so much, is the crowning of the new king. You have to become that new king. This is the reference to Christ being reborn, to the second coming of Christ. This is you and me taking responsibility for our lives. Christ is not going to cut. There may be metaphorically speaking, there may be a man that does come, but he's not coming to hold your hand. There may be a man that does that in the reality. Maybe that's the partial role of Donald Trump. I don't, who the hell knows how reality writes a story. But Maybe it's some other guy that comes. You know, I don't know. But there will probably be many guys that come to write that character into the script. But what we're talking about is that character coming in order for us to see a metaphor, and the metaphor is the path that we need to take, the route that we need to take, and that is becoming the Christ, taking responsibility for ourselves, and living by natural law. And that's something I'll have to get into another video, because it is, you know, the more you look at it, the more difficult it is. It really is quite difficult, because you have to at some point draw a line on where you say, you know, there's wrong and right. Don't get me wrong, there is wrong and right, but there is a point at which you have to draw a line on how far you are going to pursue wrong and right. And that's a video for another day. But anyway, this is the control system. This is where we're trapped. Look at where Santa Monica, the moon again with the Monica, the monolith. I mean, you just can't. I mean, can you write this stuff? Look at the mileage here. 2,448. This is 1 day. This is 2 days. I don't know what else I see here. A 1 and a 2 again. And we're back to 12, nature. And again, 21. Oh. I mean, if I was going to, I mean, realistically now, if I was going to pick a year, because I know I've done videos in the past, I'm like, I'll pick out a date and talk about it and be like, yeah, something could happen here now and whenever. But the problem I was seeing before was like, how do you figure out what year something's going to happen? You know, there's so many potential years that something could happen. But for me right now, I'm seeing so much with this, the fact that this 66 reference is writing Back to the Future. You know, it's there in Star Wars as well. And I tell you what, there's a ton of stuff in Star Wars that I haven't begun to cover. You know, it's just, there's just so much. But I forgot where I was going with this now. But you know, with the 21 and the 12, and that being nature, and this 66 reference with Back to the Future, and you know, just the niceness of this, you know, the idea of this clone number here. Boy, you know, again, this is the route. This is like the canal. This is the man-made way for you to travel on, you know. And you know, as again, we're back to the king ideas. Get your kicks. This is why you go into the system, to get your kicks fulfilled. You know, all your desires and wants and needs and everything else. Get your kicks on Route 66. And this happens to be Nat King Cole, the Nat King Cole trio. No, and oh, look at this. This is interesting. Nat King Cole's. Do I have him here? Yeah, Nathaniel Adams. You cannot write this stuff. You just cannot write it. Oh. I'm probably going to have to draw close to this video here pretty soon. But anyway, Philip, I don't even know what I've said now. Boy, oh boy, I got to take a break for just 1 second. I got a bathroom break and I'll come right back. I'm back. Yeah, this Prince Philip thing, Prince Philip dying. Dies at the age of, well, what I was just saying there with the Philip 66 sign. Dies at the age of 99. So he didn't quite make it to 100. my thoughts, I mean, I don't even want to get into the royal family. My thoughts on the royal family are, I haven't really got much of anything positive to say about the royal family. Um, they're just fulfilling a role, you know, and people need to wake up to what that role is. But what I want to say about old Philip here, um, again, he's a maritime guy. Um, he was in the Navy, and that was his career. So we've got a naval man. Um, there was something else important. Oh, born in 1921, dies this year, so that's 21. So we've got a double 21 reference. The father, of course, of the Prince of Wales, which, of course, we're back to that Welsh, those the Welsh references, and we're back to, of course, Princess Diana, and the Moon Goddess. What else do I want to say about this? And of course, the Duke of Edinburgh. So, and as the Duke of Edinburgh, um, and the Duke of Edinburgh, of course, Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland, and I'll tell you the one thing that bugs me in there's a couple of things that bug me in Back to the Future. If you've got a comment on these two things, let me know below. But the Great Scott, I mean, of course, there's a couple of things, and I'm going to go into those now, about the Great Scott. That bugs me in Back to the Future, and the Heavy, and actually the name McFly as well. But I think I've covered that in other videos. But this Great Scott thing as well. So again, we've got the Great Scott in the Union flag, the Union Jack, and it's the Great Scott is that underlying fictional system that we're stuck in. Maybe this is why Doc says that an awful lot. That cross there of the cross of St Andrew. That is part of the Great Scott. The Great Scott is Scotland. The Great Scott is basically anybody to do with Scotland, and of course, again, Freemasonry, the Scottish Rite. The list goes on. Bloody hell. Oh, that just reminds me of Fat Bastard as well on Austin Powers. Just the reference right there to Fat Bastard always, he always going, I could eat a baby. That whole thing, right? That is what the system has done. This is why we get that reference coming up a lot about, child molestation and all this stuff. And, the pedophilia. Because this is what they're doing. This is what the system does. It preys on the child. You enter that system. As soon as you're born, you're entered into that system. Not really, but the trick is played on you at that point. You don't really enter the system. You never enter the system. But that's the video for another day. So, because there's a lot of people out there that I see comments all the time, and it's almost like there's a slight despair that they're stuck in the Matrix, and they don't really realize that they're not really stuck in the Matrix. It's just a trick. But unfortunately, the problem is the Agent Smith characters that are also in the Matrix, they do the reinforcing of the whole thing. And actually, really, if you are one of those people, you're between a rock and a hard place, because I don't know where salvation comes for those people that carry out. And I mean, we all do it to a certain level, but the people that actually physically carry out that thing, I know I say we all do it to a certain level, but when you look at somebody that has a different idea to you, you kind of frown upon that idea for some reason. That is being an Agent Smith character, you know. You know, you're kind of, you know, guilt and shaming people in a certain way because you want them to act the way you want them to act under your beliefs, you know. But the people that are really doing that physical stuff, they're the people that are really going to be in trouble at the end of the day, because that's where the line is drawn in the sand, you know. When you cross that physical boundary, you've got problems, because that's the set of rules that are there for us to follow in the physical world, natural law. But anyway, yeah, so we've got the Great Scott, you know, the Great Scott, that blue cross, well, the white cross on the blue background, you know, the fictional system again. Is that metaphor as simple as the Scottish flag, the St Andrew? Gosh, again, you know, the upward arrow, the upward triangle, and the downward triangle right here. I don't know, you know, I mean, it's the same old stuff. Anyway, another great Scot's this character, James VI and the First of England and Ireland and wherever else. But this is the character that gave us his version of the Bible, the King James version of the Bible. And I think this is where the Union flag comes from, the Union Jack comes from originally, is this character bringing together those different states. So this guy, whether he was a good guy or not, probably not, seeing as he's a monarch, but it's that he's there to represent the metaphor for balancing, you know, those three things, you know, the Leviathan Cross again, finding that balance between the physical and the metaphysical, and, you know, himself being a man, you know, between God, the Mother, and man, the Trinity again. Oh, I can't remember where I wanted to go with this one. But again, I was just talking, you know, just roughly going on about, yeah, where was I going to go with this guy? Just the fact that he's the King of Scotland. Born in, you know, of course, he's going to be born in Edinburgh. And what else do I say about him? There was a couple of other interesting things. Oh yeah, it was the Guy Fawkes thing. The attempt on his life by Guy Fawkes. And I can't think what the other thing. Oh yeah, his mother was Mary again. You know, Mary, Queen of Scots. I think that's going to have to be the end of it. You know, this symbol here, the 1811, the 8111. It's just so important, you know, in terms of getting that idea. And the other Leviathan, have I got any room here? I don't know if I can do this, but I've pretty much got this all, you know, wound out. Everything's right in front of your face. The whole number's right there on your face. It's built into our sexual function. You know, the numbers are built right in there. And this character here, let me just write this out, right? Boy, this is so slow. But this character here, when you reverse, when you do the reverse of these letters in the gematria, you get hover, which I think is super important to do with the Hoover Dam. And of course, you can pick some numbers out of here. And I'm just going to go through the numbers real quick, because this L, if you watch Jurassic Liars, is a 37 or a 73. Okay, and you can see that's an upside down 73 or a 30, and even a 31 as well. And this number right here You know, this could be a 6. This can convert into a 6. It can also convert into another number I'm going to talk about in a second. A 51 or a 21 as well. If you look at an S and then you look at the number 5 and the number 2, they're kind of interchangeable again. So we've got a 21 and a 12. There's just like a ton of numbers in Elvis, you know. And there's also a 51 or a 15 right there. And carrying on the numbers, you know, this, when you balance a 3 and when you balance this number here, i.e. rotate it back on itself or flip it back on itself, you're going to get a number. When you balance those two things, you're going to get a number, and it's going to be this, an 8. And I know you have to do a bit of wiggling here to get this to work, to get this L to work as a 1, but you don't have to do much. If it was a capital L, I would say yes, okay, we've got a, but there's a reason again why a small L is like this and a capital L is this, the 7. You know, yeah. If I was to argue, well, I don't want to argue about it, but you know, you could make the point that this is an 81, right? And that if you complete these, you know, if you complete these two letters on each end and balance them again with the S, you know, there's one half of it, and then you put the other half in, you know, and we're back to the 81, 81, 18 with Elvis. I just, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm reaching at stuff here, but you know, this is what you're trying to do is, you know, here's the V, the dam here, the valley, and you've got to balance both sides, both banks of the river. Yeah, you've got to balance this side, and this is a reflection of this side. Interesting stuff anyway, I think. I don't think I have anything more to say. I think I've covered most of everything in there. For a long video, I'm sorry. Was there anything else in here? Oh, one last little thing. And it's, where is it? The Route 66 thing. I'll tell you, that's what got me started on the Route 66 thing, was the kids had this on. And Lightning McQueen. I mean, Lightning McQueen. If you've ever heard of the term lightening, it's a term to do with pregnancy, and it's when the baby basically drops. You know, I don't know how just before, you know, a week or two before birth, maybe, I don't know, something like that. But it's basically the fetus or the child coming in, you know, the unborn child coming into the right position to be birthed. So you got, you know, and I mean, you could pick out the reference of lightning with Zeus or something else, you know, the spark of creation or whatever. But lightning, that before the man is born, okay. So we've got Lightning McQueen. I mean, really, Lightning McQueen, and then so he gets, you know, I don't even want to go into the film, but anyway, he's resurfacing Route 66 in the film. He's got to fix Route 66. He basically, when he enters into the film, he's kind of arrogant and unbalanced, and he destroys Route 66, right? I mean, get this, he destroys Route 66, and so what he has to do, and as is awakening, he ends up fixing Route 66. This is what he has to do. This is what we're here to do. To be reborn from the Queen, right? Out of the Queen system. out of McQueen. Lightning is that process of being birthed, and we've got to fix Route 66, the place where we're getting all of our kicks right now. The thing that the route that we've destroyed, basically. You know, it's just that the mind boggles at whether people think this stuff through before they write these films, or whether this just happens. But anyway, in the background, right here, we've got one of the places in the little town is Flo's V8 Cafe. Need I say more? And when you look at the shape of this is obviously an air filter that would sit on top of the V8 engine. But again, my guy JL Jurassic Liars would love this image right here to do with the Space Needle. I don't know, and even the pistons are kind of to do with the Space Needle again. The rod, and then the dome of the piston. I don't know. You know what I mean? You just can't write this stuff. But there's the V of the Valley of Eve, and there's the 8 in the middle, and that same what we were just talking about with Elvis there. And you've got to remember, Elvis. Elvis is synonymous with Las Vegas. Just completely. Anyway, gotta leave the video there. I don't think I can put any more in here anyway, even if I've got another tab that I didn't talk about. Hope you enjoyed, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers. Sorry it was such a long one. Anyway, alright, bye.